The difference is that megacities are generally cities over 10 million people. And the term has never been terribly well defined, but it generally refers to the city proper. So the municipality, the core municipality. So for example, in Manila, the megacity would be Metro Manila, and it would not include the surrounding cities in Rizal or Cavite provinces. Metropolitan regions are quite different. They're anchored on at least a city with at least 1 million urban residents, but they encompass the satellite cities and towns within a 1-hour travel time, which is generally about 50-kilometer radius. And this is really where the metropolitan economy is working. It's not within the core city only, but it includes the satellite cities and the towns. In my view, China needs to concentrate on the metropolitan regions, including the 3 or 4 megacity regions of Shanghai, Beijing, and Guangzhou. But there are about 50 metropolitan regions in China. They account for 57% of the country's GDP, which is up from 52% in the year 2000. So they're the real engines of growth, and they're the main magnets, attractors of the migrant populations coming from the countryside and from smaller cities and towns. Well, there are several things that need to be done. To begin with, these smaller cities and towns need to grow. Their populations need to grow. They need to grow at much higher densities than they are at right now, because they're at very low densities and the city is sprawling out. They need to be connected. They need to be connected with the core city. They need to be connected between themselves. And by connected, it means having physical accessibility of roads, but also the means to use those roads. So that means bus system, jeepney equivalent, a shared taxi. These services have to be put in place to connect these satellite cities and towns. The next thing that needs to be done is that the level of service, public service and infrastructure in these satellite towns and cities needs to converge, needs to increase to approach that of the core city, because people are not going to move, industries are not going to move to these satellite cities unless the infrastructure and public services are in place. And finally, they need to be much better managed and governed. There's generally in these satellite cities and towns, the level of governance and urban management is relatively weak, and that needs to be improved quite dramatically. And related to that, the metropolitan region as a whole somehow needs to be governed or managed better. Because right now we have all these competing municipalities. There is no agreement in place or government in place or institution in place that can help address metropolitan regional management and development.